Jazzcast Pros.
Hello and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. This is your host, Marshawn Hargrave, and it is the last week of February, moving into the first week of March. And so February is obviously Black History Month, and March is Women's History Month. And so one of the things that I love about this podcast is I feel like I get to talk to the coolest people doing the coolest things. And in my 150-ish episodes, I have got to talk to some incredible people. And so what I wanted to do in today's episode is revisit some of these really cool conversations that I have had with Black women entrepreneurs. So I have taken snippets of 6 episodes from my past 150 conversations, and I wasn't able to get to all of them, but these were, if I had to pick 6, these were them, and I'm going to share them with you today. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the current or aspiring solopreneur, navigate the messy middle so you can make both an income and an impact. The first one I'm going to pick out is with the conversation I had with my incredible podcast producer turned friend, Jazzy T. We talk about using your podcast to be your most authentic self. You know, one of the incredible things about podcasting is that there's literally a podcast out there for anybody. And so, you know, when you're talking to a very general audience, you have to a lot of times talk about things in a very general way. But with a podcast, because it's about something specific, you get to nerd out, you get to niche down, you get to talk about something that is very near and dear to your heart and doesn't have to be everybody's taste, but it is yours, and the people that it is important to will hear it. And so her and I talk about really being your most authentic self when you're able to talk on a medium like a podcast. Why do you think that podcasts are an important way for people to get their voice and their message out and, like you said, shine their light?
Because with podcasting, it's so niche. And that's what I love about it versus broadcasting, where when you're on TV or on radio, you have to appeal to a mass audience. And podcasting, you can really, really hone in on a specific point of view and serve a specific audience as well. And so when people get into podcasting, like I just had a meeting with someone yesterday who in their 9-to-5 job, they have to be a little bit watered down, have to be a little whitewashed, have to be, mass appeal, politically correct, all of that stuff. But on a podcast, all of that goes out the window and you can literally just be yourself. And you can talk about the things that's really important to you. And as a person who's been in radio and been a part of pushing specific narratives, unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of stuff came into focus for me. And I'm like, I don't want to push narratives anymore. I want to talk about good things. I want to talk about positive things. I want to talk about stuff that empowers and inspires and educates, not dumbs people down. And with podcasting, we get an opportunity to do that. And the great thing is if somebody doesn't like it, they can always go to another podcast and find something that resonates with them. With 4 million podcasts out there, there's literally something for everyone.
This next conversation that I had was with this incredible woman who I have seen just grow leaps and bounds, both personally and in her business via social media. Again, most of these people that I talk to on my podcast have actually never met in person. But this episode, I talk with Carly Dorn, and we talk about using your 9-to-5 as your angel investor so you get to do more of what you want. There is so much talk out there about how you should do things and what other people's version of entrepreneurship means. Whether you made $5 from your business last month or $50,000, you get to call yourself an entrepreneur because you're building something out of nothing and because that's the headspace and lifestyle that you are living. So there can be times where people say you're only an entrepreneur if you are in it full time. But what Carly and I talk about is doing it the way that supports you in your lifestyle. And sometimes you need that steady paycheck, and being an entrepreneur gets to afford you a different lifestyle because, you may get your raise every year, but then being an entrepreneur, you get to bring in so much more money, and that allows you to go on more vacations or do whatever is important to you in your life. So that's what Carly and I talk about in this episode. How can you use your 9 to 5 as like a really crucial building block to an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur and building your legacy?
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, my 9 to 5 is my angel investor of my business. So I use my 9 to 5 as a way, because before I started my business, the whole reason why I decided was because I didn't want to feel like I was capped at my income. Like, I work a corporate job. I have a salary, every year you'll get anywhere between 3 to 5%. Okay, great. But it allowed me to live a very comfortable life. But if I wanted to go travel for a month, ideally, would I be able to do that? And so I really wanted to figure out a way to bring in more money to where I could have the freedom that I wanted to travel and not have to worry about money, or to hire someone to help me clean my house, or to get a nanny, or, things that we want as moms and women. We always want someone to help us out. I feel like that was my driving force. I'm like, I want someone to come help me clean my house. And so I use my 9 to 5 as a way to help me build my business without the need, or not the need, but just being in a place where you really have to just accept anything. Because when you first, I saw my mom as an entrepreneur when she just took the leap and quit her job, didn't have anything in savings. We were living off of government assistance, all of the things. And I was like, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur because I saw, it done that way.
Yeah.
But there's several people that talk about, before you decide to quit your job, there are certain things that you have to hit before it actually makes sense for you to quit your job. And so even with me and my podcast, like, I wanted to create a community where it's like, it's okay for you to have a 9 to 5 while you're building your business. Actually, it's very wise for you to do so, because you're really able to have that time to build something and to take your time and build it and figure it out and fail a couple times and not feel like you are, pressured to succeed out the gate. Because a lot of the entrepreneurs will tell you, like, when you first start something, you pivot several times before you actually start to succeed. And so even having a 9 to 5 as a cushion that you can lean on to take care of your household things, to live off on while you're building, while you're failing, while you're trying to succeed, is one of the wisest things that you can do as an entrepreneur.
This next conversation I had still brings such a smile to my face. And this conversation was with a woman named Janelle, and she decided she wanted to start I keep wanting to say competition, but that's not the right word. She wanted to start something where people got on social media and shared what joy they were finding in their life. And there can be so much for us to spiral on, especially in today's world of negative things that are happening. But what she found, and how contagious joy can be by showing up and focusing on it and really living in gratitude every day. And then the ripple effects that can have are just more than you can even think about when you first start something like this. So take a listen to my conversation with Janelle. Can you tell us a favorite ripple effect that you sharing your joy has had with others?
Ooh, there's so many. Honestly, I think that joy challenge alone was eye-opening to me. It was essentially a decision that I made within a couple hours of talking to a friend of ours, Hannah, and it was just meant to be for me. I didn't share it with anyone. It wasn't like a big, ooh, there's something coming. It was just hey, I'm doing this thing. I want to be held accountable. So I'm just going to be sharing this with you all. And then sure enough, there are so many people saying, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Can I join you? Absolutely. Other people saying, wow, this brought me joy, which was also so beautiful to hear. It really is that ripple effect, like you said, where joy is contagious and joy is a beautiful thing. And to have done that and to have seen just how magnetizing that was, like when I'm in my element, people are attracted to that. It was something that I did not expect and was so grateful for, because it really was that it was affirming that I'm in my element, not just because of course I was getting that positive feedback, but more so that I was doing this thing for me first. And it just so happened that other people seeing me have joy help them have joy.
Yeah. In this next episode, I talked to someone who I actually have been able to meet in person. She is a Rochester-based entrepreneur. My conversation with Lauren was talking about her product-based business. So in this episode, she shares for the first time, like publicly, when she did leave her teaching job to open a candle studio full-time. But it was such an interesting conversation because most of the people that I had conversations with were a lot of service-based businesses. And so I was really intrigued and wanted to share with my audience what some of the things that a product-based business could find. And what I loved about this episode is she talks about using data to make decisions. We talk about that all the time, like taking the emotion out of the decision-making. But she really digs into what do the facts tell you? And that can really help with avoiding burnout when you are building a product-based business. So let's take a listen to this episode with Lauren.
You asked about finding the right markets. Again, that's just trial and error. A market that does well for my product might not do so well for another product. So it's really knowing your audience, the people who kind of stand your product and where they shop, and just applying for a bunch of things and seeing what works. I did that for my first couple years and it was tough, but then you make your decisions based on the data and then you don't apply for all the things. You just target where you want to go. As far as preparing for them, like I said, I love looking at data and spreadsheets are really fun for me. So, and then again, I'm a teacher also by trade. I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but I am also a high school math teacher. So it's just kind of like my group to do these things. And I plan. That's part of my day job is planning. So for example, if I know that I have like a really huge event coming up, I will plan for it minimum like a month ahead of time because I still have to pour all the candles, right? Put all the labels on, do all the inventory checks and all of those things, pack them up, put them in the cart. Like it's a whole thing. But I would recommend people to definitely plan early. Do not, like it is the worst feeling in the world. And I know this because I've done it, to stay up the night before an event trying to get ready for the event. It's the worst because then you have to also like be awake and smiling with people all day the next day. So give yourself that space to have a good night's sleep. And yeah, preparation is the key.
This next listen is with a wonderful entrepreneur named Selena. And our conversation really focused around systems and building systems. But what really spoke to me was this quote where she said, you have to get out of the CEO mindset and focus on a systems mindset. You know, a CEO, if you're only in CEO mindset all the time, you're like this overlord touching on all the things and having to participate in all of the decisions. But instead, can you have a systems mindset where you can set it and forget it? I mean, you know, thinking back to the earlier episode with Carly, like if you want to be able to take those vacations because you're making enough money to go do those things, how can your business continue to run without you being an active participant in it all the time? If your business falls apart because you're not touching it, then you need to focus on systems. And so Selena and I really dive into what that should look like. tell me what a like CEO dependent mindset is and versus a systems dependent mindset. What are the differences between those two things?
Awesome. Yes, this is a hot topic in the small business community, I feel like right now, especially with AI and all the tech tools coming out. But what I think that people should understand is that with the CEO dependent mindset, it's like the CEO is involved in every process, every core business process that happens, meaning that the CEO has to touch everything, whether it's sales, whether it's HR, whether it's finance, they're kind of have their hands in everything. So the CEO mindset, typically what I have seen is that they don't have a lot of back end automations. And if they do, when they do use systems, it's heavily manual, right? So someone has to go in and touch it. And again, that typically is that CEO that has to go in and approve or touch things that could be automated. So the CEO mindset is just heavily dependent on them feeling like they're needed in the business. So a systems dependent mindset, I feel like that involves team collaboration. That has the team embedded, like it's in the culture. Okay, so there's like tech tools that they use, the CRMs, all those platforms and dashboards. They have automations, they have integrations. They're saving time. They're more productive. No one's working in silos, and everyone understands the vision and the goals and the objectives of the company. The systems dependent mindset, they have weekly team meetings, especially if they're virtual. Weekly team meetings when you have support staff is very important to keep the goals and the objectives of the company going, especially when there's multiple clients and you're trying to, reduce the churn. So you're needing those weekly meetings and those system dependent models to progress, right? To get to that level of scaling up to that next level.
And in this last conversation that you are going to hear, I speak with the incredible Daria. And what I loved about this conversation is, I've been on this journey of being very graceful and gentle with my brain and figuring out how I walk day to day as I accept my ADHD. And again, just being very gentle, saying like my brain doesn't work the same as someone who is neurotypical. And so I need to set up systems, not just in my business, but also in my home that make it more effective for me to function. And so what I loved about this conversation is the idea that there are no rules. You don't have to set up your home in a way that like you see it on Pinterest or for your friends' homes. And like everything doesn't have to look picture perfect, especially if it's not in a way that functions for you. And so really setting up your place and your spaces so that they are most effective for you, that's really what winning is. Let's go ahead and listen to this conversation with Daria.
Say, you know what? This is going to be my routine because when I first come through the door, I have to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just go ahead and lay it here. But you can build up some type of system to where it's like, okay, after dinner or just before dinner, let me go ahead and put this away because there are no rules to this. There are different philosophies that are out there and they're great. And you have to pull them all together to know what's best for you. But at the end of the day, it's all about what works for you. So putting away those shoes, it's like, okay, it could get overwhelming because all you want to do is get in and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Just have something to where you could temporarily sit it there, but then also make sure that you say, okay, make it up in your mind to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that just before dinner, I go ahead and put this away, but let me sit on the couch for a second just to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To breathe.
So it's kind of knowing what you need in that moment and long term, like in the moment, you need to take your clothes off, take the day off and take a load off, sit on your couch for a little while and creating the space of, okay, as the vegetables are sauteing. I'm going to go run up and put my clothes away. Whatever you have to do to create that space.
Absolutely. And it's not about multitasking either, because it's like, I am not a multitasker. I know that's the name. And they came out, they have research on that too. And I was so happy when that research came out. You know what I'm saying? I think it was like several years ago. And I was, everybody from my mom to family, I said, friends, I said, you see there? I told you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a phenomenal multitasker. Not really. It's this story I tell myself that like, oh, I'm really good at it. And then at the end after like an hour, I'm like, what did I just do? What just happened?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I was like, look, no judgment. I am happy for all you multitaskers out there. Hey, you're all right with me, but I'm a single tasker. I prioritize rule of 3.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed just hearing little snippets from these episodes with these incredible Black women entrepreneurs that I have had the pleasure of speaking with over the past couple of years. It was so fun and energizing and inspiring to go back and listen to these conversations because some of them are a couple years old now. And so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you were able to celebrate the Black women in your life, not just in February, March, but all the time. So until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.